Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to Tech Tested. It's kind of cold up here in North America right now, but if you've got some spare computer parts, you might be able to build a space heater that pays for itself. So what do I mean by pay for itself? Well, your typical space heater does one thing really well, and that is turn electricity into heat. The only problem with that is you can't recoup any of the costs of that electricity that you're burning. That's where computer parts come in. Now, the best way to use these computer parts to generate heat is to mine cryptocurrency on your graphics card. And if the goal is to get heat and make it pay for itself, cryptocurrency mining is the best way. So we've got a really basic motherboard here. It's just an AMD, I think it's a Phenom 2 or Phenom 2, depending on how you want to pronounce it. We've got 16 gigs of 1600 megahertz RAM on this MSI motherboard. We've got a 120 gigabyte SSD. You don't need a lot of storage for this, but the big important parts are right here. We've got a 1000 watt power supply, and that 1000 watt power supply is necessary so we can run these. These are the heart and soul of this build, the graphics cards. Right here, you may remember our R9 290 from a previous video, and that is going to be mining alongside our R9 390. Now, you may not recognize this one because in our last video, it had a bunch of fans strapped to it. I did order some replacement fans, and the fun part about this is these are Gigabyte fans on an XFX graphics card. Now, they do work properly, and it actually runs nice and quiet. One thing you may want to note, these graphics cards are not going to turn a profit. They are very power hungry graphics cards that don't mine at a high enough rate in order to compensate for the electricity they draw. However, if the goal is to generate heat and just to get enough money out of the mining to pay for the heat we're generating, it's a win-win. Without further ado, we're going to get to building the computer. Now, we're not doing a step-by-step today, but we will be doing a step-by-step video in the future on how to build a PC, so stay tuned for that. All right, so we're gonna move some stuff out of the way so we can get our computer case in. And you may recognize the computer case as well because it is our Sidewinder case that we used in our last video. Yeah, it's really dated and really ugly, but it serves a purpose, and that is heating space. Oh, okay. So here is our space heater PC built. Honestly, you don't have to do it with a full-size tower. You don't have to use 2 graphics cards. You can do it with whatever PC parts you have lying around, but this is what will work best for me. So we're going to actually do a couple of tests now. First, I'm gonna put the side panel back on. We're going to go upstairs to the office. We're going to plug in a power monitor to a regular space heater and see how much power it draws. Then we're going to plug this thing in, get it mining, leave it in the room for a while, and check the temperature delta to see if it actually works as a space heater. So we're actually gonna test the power draw of a space heater here in the kitchen. This is a space heater that I pulled from home that I use on a pretty regular basis, and I think you might be surprised at how much power it draws. So it's got 2 settings. This is at max heat setting, but this is at low fan speed setting. And actually this is the heat setting. And as you can see, we're drawing, it's going up. We're up to 330, 365, 390. And I think it goes up to right about 500 watts. So we're sitting right at 500. Oh, we're up to 560 watts, and that's on the low setting. and it's still going up. So if we crank it up to high, let's see what it does. All right, we're up to 850, almost 900. Still climbing. We're up to over 1,000 watts of power draw just from a regular space heater. 1,500 or 1,055 watts from a little space heater. So to give you an idea of what kind of power that is, this computer that we just built with both graphics cards running at full tilt should draw less than 800 watts. So we're going to be drawing power and hopefully paying for that power that we're using while using less power than your typical space heater. It's actually settling down right around 860 watts. So, but we still should be under that with the computer build. So we need to test a couple things. First of all, the power draw of this computer. Second of all, how much money it makes. And third, how well it heats the room. So we have set up a thermometer here to check the ambient air temperature. And right now it's sitting at 65.8 degrees Fahrenheit. We can switch that to Celsius. It's 18.8 degrees Celsius for those of you not here in the United States or those of you who like to read Celsius. So the goal is to increase the ambient air temperature because it's a space heater. And the second goal is to pay for itself. So we've got to mine some cryptocurrency. And so we're gonna get that started right now. All right, so some success. Our graphics cards have heated this room up all the way to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 10 degrees Fahrenheit above what we were running at before we started the stress tests. And in Celsius, we're up to 23.5 degrees Celsius. So that's a huge delta. It's working as a space heater for this office. As you may have noticed, we're running into a little bit of issues on the monitor side of things. The graphics cards are being stressed so hard right now, they don't want to output a display. Probably because, actually I just thought of this, it's probably because we're trying to output 4K instead of a lower resolution. We should have turned down the resolution so that it's not trying so hard. And I'm trying to get to see where we can see the profitability margins on this. It's getting really slow. So this is obviously a downside. You're stressing your hardware very hard. It's obviously an imperfect solution. It does show us our profitability. I'll try to see it here. Okay, it's showing our profitability at $1.15 a day. Definitely try running at a lower resolution than 4K. I forgot about this being a 4K monitor, but $1.15 a day is actually, we calculated, covering and then some our energy costs as far as what we're spending on power, which is awesome. Like, that's so much better than I was expecting. We're actually making money with these two graphics cards. Now, something to keep in mind, whatever graphics cards you're running, your mileage may vary. These graphics cards are actually pretty good at mining cryptocurrency, and not all graphics cards are actually good at that. All right, so we ran some numbers and it definitely increased our room temperature, which was awesome. It increased it from 65 degrees Fahrenheit to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So we made a space heater. As far as did it pay for itself? Yes, with some caveats. It definitely was profitable with the R9 290 and R9 390 running. We actually were making more than we were spending on our energy costs, which was awesome. Not much, I mean, you're essentially breaking even, but we definitely did very well in that department. We did run into a little bit of an issue with the graphics cards. I think the R9 290 is degraded to the point where while we were running the stress test, we couldn't actually move the mouse and we couldn't see the screen. It shut down the screen. Now that might have been because we were running at 4K on the screen. We shouldn't have been doing that. If you do this, definitely run at a very low resolution to put the least amount of strain on your graphics card while you're running these tests, because even just displaying an output is definitely stressful on your graphics cards. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this whole setup? Well, some of the advantages are, if you already have the parts, it's free to build the space heater. Second, you can actually pay for the amount of heat you output theoretically. Third, you've got a spare gaming rig set up in case a friend comes over and wants to game. Fourth, you're eliminating e-waste. I mean, instead of throwing away your components, you're actually reusing them for a useful purpose. There are some downsides. One, some of your parts might be degraded, kind of like my R9 290 is. It was kind of suffering quite a bit there. 2, your mileage is definitely gonna vary depending on your older hardware that you're using. My cards are actually pretty good for mining right now, but that's not gonna last forever, and lesser cards are definitely not gonna do as well. 3rd, it's a lot of upkeep. So you've gotta be able to manage your financial side of it in order to make your money back, and you are also having to manage the computer as well. But something else to keep in mind, this is like the dumbest way to do it. I literally Googled how to cryptocurrency mine, took the easiest route, used the basic AMD drivers. I didn't modify the BIOS at all. That's a whole rabbit hole you can go down as far as cryptocurrency mining goes. But this is just a very simple setup, and it definitely paid for itself. So I'm actually gonna be using this at my house. My office is kind of cold, so I'm gonna be mining cryptocurrency to keep my office nice and warm. Thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow us on our social media platforms, check out our Discord server, and check out our merchandise on our website.